Hello and welcome back to Darling Things. Today I'm here with Jerome Maas.
Hello.
Sorry. Jerome and I first met at one of Marina Geckler's networking events this year in February, actually. So I'm glad to see you again today.
Nice to see you.
Jerome was born in the US, but then grew up in England, moved to Portugal, and now has most recently moved to Cape Town. That's really impressive, since I am born, raised, and still living in the same city. Jerome is a photographer, videographer, director, and even does production services. But what I'm actually most interested in is his career as a storyteller. Do you have anything to add? I mean, I've seen you have a really, really broad skill set, like even for a 20-plus year career, It's a lot. So if you want to add something, please do so.
I think that's the way you described it is kind of how I am now. I've worn many hats over my career and done many things. But at this moment in time, that's a fair representation for what I am. Yeah.
Okay, great. Most recently, you have actually won the AOP award. It's an award of the Association of Photographers, which I've been told is kind of the Oscar of photography. So big congrats on that one.
Thank you so much.
Today, we want to discuss several topics. I mean, you've lived in a lot of countries, so you're not only having an international career, but also probably an international network. So we want to touch on the topic of networking and on your really broad skill set and how you acquired that. I mean, 20 years is a lot of time, but still I feel like the things you can write after your name is still like really impressive. So I really want to talk about that. And I really want to touch on art over content, since I saw that's like something really important to you. And I feel like that's something a lot of people struggle with in a really fast-paced world. Let's start. I mean, you have lived and worked in England, Portugal, Cape Town, and like many other places as well. But there's like your bases where you've probably also lived and not just worked. But for work, I guess you have traveled a lot. As I've seen last week, you were on the Maldives, which I hope was really amazing.
It was, yeah. I've also lived in Australia as well, and Turkey.
Oh, wow.
And some time in Bali, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Many places. I can't keep up with myself, yeah.
You should really like get a really big land card and like fill in all the places you've lived in for like more than 3 months.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, of course, if you travel that much and live in so many places, it's really easy to get to know a lot of people. But how do you foster and build a network you can actually make use of over time?
I mean, yeah, network is a really interesting thing, and it's a super important thing, in my opinion. Someone asked me recently where I got my clients from, and it made me have a think about where my clients are coming to me from. And I would say 80% of projects that I've had over the last few years have all been through my existing network. And that can be someone, I've got a shoe client that I met in a queue for a restaurant in Portugal. We were waiting for a table. She had a dog, I had a dog. We got talking, and then we ended up shooting like 4 campaigns together. Yeah. So network is a really important thing. And I think one of the beauties of traveling and building network is that you're expanding your network every time. But that's not for everyone. Like, you have to be a bit more extroverted to do the network thing.
Yeah, sure.
And I think I am. Sorry if you hear the dog in the background. He's got a bit of Tourette's, so he's strange noises. In my early career, I worked in sales. And in sales, they teach you and force you to network. So you would go to networking events and you would have to meet people and shake hands, introduce yourself. And it's really cringeworthy and like quite horrible at the start. But I've done it for my entire career, and so I'm so used to it, and I've seen the benefits of it that I really try and put myself out there as much as possible, because you never know where one connection is going to lead. Like, this conversation wouldn't be happening now if neither of us had turned up to the networking event that Marina put on, right? Yeah. So you have to show face and try these things.
Yeah, definitely. I had a paid modeling job last week because I was reading at Blondie's. which is like a bar/restaurant here in Cape Town. And a group of friends came and I played cards with them. And one of the girls works in marketing. She was like, oh, are you a model? We're still looking for a model next week. Do you have time on Monday? I was like, yeah, sure, I do have time. So like really just engage in conversations. Something I really had to learn is actually talking about what I do. I mean, once it's your full-time career, it's like really obvious that you're gonna say, oh, I'm a photographer, if that's your full-time career. What I really had to learn is mentioning that I'm a model, even though I'm employed somewhere else as well. Because like for a long time, I would always say like my regular 9-to-5 job.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if it's the same for photographers, but especially as a model, I always felt like, oh, there's like what are people gonna think about me? And how am I saying that I'm a model if I'm like working one modeling job a month? And then starting to say that I'm a model actually makes such a big difference, because people need to know that you're a model, so people can think of you once the opportunity for a model arises. Otherwise, they're gonna think nothing. They're not gonna have you in mind. So it's so important to talk and especially also mention what you do.
100%. I really, really agree with that, because, you know, I've only been doing the photography now full time for the last 3 years. So prior to that, I've done many things. I've been in advertising and marketing for 15, 20 years. But when you start saying you are this, so even though I was kind of doing it before, that's not what I tell people I did, similar to you as a model. And then when I decided to do it full time, the moment that you say I'm a photographer, or I'm a model, or I'm an architect, like I was in the gym earlier this week and I met a guy in the changing room. We got chatting. I asked him what he did. He said, I'm an architect. I said, oh, it's funny that. Because I was just thinking in the class that I wanted to do some work in my house. Now, if he'd have said he did something else, I never would have had that conversation with him, and that never would have led to a project. So it's kind of like you say whatever you want to happen. It's a weird, it's like kind of manifestation, but not. It's like put it out in the universe and it will come back to you. Yeah. And I think you have to be quite confident to do that as well, because some people are quite shy about what they do. Yeah, completely agree. Say what you are, put it out to the world, and see what comes your way on the back of it.
Yeah. Do you have like any things you try to keep in mind to actually foster your network and to keep it up? Or you just hope for the best and hope that people are gonna think of you and gonna remember you?
It's a tough one. When you move as well, you're out of sight. And if you're out of sight, you're out of mind. And trying to be present in people's minds when they're thinking about these things is quite a difficult thing to do. Because if you think about what we're saying about network, and if you know someone, you're more likely to get the job sent your way. If you're not spending time with that person, then you're kind of not in their head in the same way. So, I mean, yeah, of course, you've got the classics like social media and email marketing and this kind of thing, which do work. I had a job come in recently for someone that I met 4 years ago in Porto, and we stayed connected on social media. We didn't really talk that much, but she obviously saw some of the work that I was doing. And then she had a project that was good for me, and I ended up winning that project. Yeah. So, but that was just an Instagram connect, and that was it. Yeah. So it's crazy how it can work. But I do think if you're in a place, and one of the reasons I chose to move to Cape Town and kind of stay in Cape Town, I wanted to be less transient, because when you're traveling and you're moving every few months, you kind of meet someone and then you're gone. And then you can't build personal relationships, business relationships, romantic relationships. It's quite difficult to kind of build that foundation. So now when I'm here, I'm consciously trying to go out and meet people who are local here, who are living here for the longer term, to build those networks. And then like over time, I'm considering starting an event series myself to bring people together in the creative industry. Just a way to keep your kind of finger on the pulse in the creative industry, because if you're not meeting people, if you're not having conversations, if you're not out on shoots, and I'm not the type of photographer that is shooting every day. Like there's guys out there who are shooting every day consistently. Now they're constantly meeting people, projects, whatever. I'm more like fewer projects per year, but bigger projects. So I have more time. So I'm trying to build that creative community as much as I can. Not sure if that answers the question.
Sure does answer the question. And I feel like at this point, it's almost annoying that I keep saying that. But luckily or unfortunately, however you want to look at it, but I think you should always look like at the, what is it called? Like the bright side of the coin or whatever. Social media really is worth all the hype. It just makes so much sense. And it's not about having 100,000 followers. It's just about people seeing you. Because especially once you leave the country, well, guess what? If you keep posting late at night, they lay in their bed, suddenly they see you at 10 p.m. And that's how you actually stay on their mind. So I feel like, yes, we should all use social media more. No, we should all use social media less, please, less scrolling. But we should all use social media more for our advantage, more output than input. Because I feel like with social media, it's really easy to have like a really abnormal amount of input that kind of slows down your own output, because you don't have like any original thoughts anymore, because you constantly have like thoughts from outside coming in, and your brain doesn't even have the time to actually think about its own thoughts and ideas.
That's important. That's important to have that time away. I'm mildly addicted to my devices, like a lot of people are. I think I spend too much time on them, and I like to try and detox from them when I can, because I know when I do, the thoughts come. But that's sometimes not the reality. It's like we wake up, we grab our phone, we've got notifications, we then sit in front of a laptop all day if we're not on location and doing shoots or whatever. Then sometimes we sit in front of a screen and watch a movie at night, and we're flicking through our phone. Like, it's so much time just being bombarded with visuals and information, and it doesn't allow your brain to make any progress on itself. It's just constant input. Sometimes you just need nothing, and for your brain to like reconfigure itself a bit and get thoughts. This is why people go on retreats and they do digital detoxes and all this kind of stuff. It allows their brain to quieten, and it allows them to think, oh, you know what? Actually, now I've had a bit of time, I think I actually want to do this with my life, you know?
No, really. It really is the case, because I really started to listen to podcasts or like any types of books when I fall asleep. And I recently have stopped it again, and I'm really laying in bed like, damn, I actually be having some thoughts that make sense. Because I was like, oh, I'm alone anyway, so might as well just listen to something. And when I stopped it, I was like, this is actually so much better, because I personally like the thoughts and ideas I have. So sometimes it's actually nice to like listen to your own thoughts.
It's funny that I have tinnitus, so in your ears when it rings, I got it like 7 years ago, and it's very, very mild, but it's there. And one of the things that I do, I don't know if it's partly to do with that or just because I like kind of music or whatever, I'm always listening to something. So I listen to music a lot, I listen to podcasts a lot. It's very, very rare for me that it's silent, but it's when it's silent, that's what you need. I need more silence to kind of quieten the mind a bit. So I'm with you. It's difficult when there's so much out there to see and hear. Sometimes I feel like I want to consume this, you know, I want to listen to this podcast, I want to watch this film, I want to see the documentary because I want to learn. I'm a very curious person, I just want to learn things. And when you're silent, partly I think, well, you're not learning anything, but actually that's exactly what you need. Silence is important.
I think we just have to go back to being silent for long enough to the point where we actually have like all those good and interesting ideas we want to like keep thinking about ourselves. Because if you're just like silent for like 10 minutes in the morning, there often isn't enough time to come up with like an idea that interests you so much that you want to keep listening to your own ideas. So then you go and watch like a great YouTube documentary that's like 40 minutes. But of course, this is like so much better than what you can think of in 40 minutes, because this 40-minute documentary wasn't made in 40 minutes. So of course, the information is like so much denser than what you can think of in 40 minutes.
But you still need the 40 minutes to inspire you, but then you need the 10 minutes to process what you heard the day before, you know? So that if you're 10 minutes is still 10 minutes. It's like people say, it's a bit of a cliche, but you have an idea in the shower. Why do you have ideas in showers? Because you're not doing anything. Your mind's like quietened.
Oh yeah, I'm just going to pretend I don't listen to music when I'm showering.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Of course I do.
Do you? Interesting. That's the one place I don't actually listen to it.
Oh no, but it's the best time to listen to music. But like when I try to go to sleep, then I don't listen to anything. So that's good. But I fall asleep fast, so I don't know if that's actually 10 minutes. I don't know.
When I was a kid, I used to listen to, I had like, I'm showing my age now, The Hobbit on cassette, like the audio book. I used to listen to the story of The Hobbit to like send me to sleep. It gave me good dreams. But I guess I've always had and I'd listen to music and I'd write down the lyrics. I'd learn the lyrics to songs and stuff. That I've always like listened to things, and I love music as well.
Yeah.
So people think, oh, I haven't got time for it, but if it's 10 minutes, it's still better than nothing.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
It helps. Like sometimes just sit there and lay at the ceiling and just process things for 10 minutes. It's gonna get you further than you think. I'm talking to myself here as well. I'm not even like preaching this as a lesson. I know I need to do it because when I have done these things, it has worked.
Yeah.
So it's just a reminder to myself as well. I need to do that.
I mean, especially with a career like you have, like being a photographer, videographer, and so on, I feel like you really need time to get like creative ideas. But one of your skills I want to really go a little bit more into depth about is storytelling, because I feel like, yes, you need creativity for being a photographer, but I feel like if you would rank it, you need even more creativity in being a storyteller, because if you're a photographer, of course, you always put like your own turn and twist on things. But if you work for a client, there kind of is like an idea, or you also work with other people together. So there is like a creative director who kind of tells you what to do. And then you just say like, oh, maybe you should do this and that angle. That would maybe work better. But like with storytelling, I feel like there you really have to take time and go into depth about it to come up with like a good story. So maybe you just wanna, or maybe you could just start with like explaining the job of a storyteller, basically. Like, what does it mean to you if you say, yes, I'm a photographer and I'm also a storyteller for a living?
I mean, to me, they're one and the same. Like, I really believe if you're a photographer, you're a storyteller. And it's your job. You're telling a story through visuals. Like, that is what you're doing. You know, I come from more of an advertising background, and that is all about telling stories with nice visuals. I don't know, I think maybe this is a reason that I haven't necessarily been so focused on some categories within photography, because there's not the opportunity to tell the story as much. Like, if I think about what I've created this in a way of, what do I like? What lifestyle do I want? I like to travel. I like to go to new places. I like to be outdoors. I like to adventure. And so I try and get clients that fit within that remit. And those types of clients generally have a cool story to tell behind them. Even if it's like, I don't know, if it's a shoe, I will always think about what's the story that we're telling for the client? What do these visuals need to say? It's not enough to just have a pretty picture.
Yeah.
Because we've got billions of pretty pictures, and there's so many people that can take a pretty picture, but what are you doing with that picture? It's difficult because the industry that we're in pays in advertising. You know, the advertising market pays because there's profit to be made in selling a product. So really the best productions have often come out of some kind of capitalist system of selling or buying a product. Like, I will encourage you to buy this sugary drink, Coca-Cola, whatever. Think of how big they've become. It's just sugared water. It's crazy, like how they've done that. But really, we need to use our power as storytellers for good. And I believe if we take all of the skills that we have in the advertising industry and the production industry, and we use that for impact, so organizations that need it, or climate stories, or more documentary work, wow, the world would probably be in a better place. So, but the problem is with that is that there's no money funding this stuff. So everyone goes to the other side because they need to put a roof over their head and pay the bills. But kind of coming back to your question of like a job of a storyteller, if you're a photographer, if you're a videographer, if you're whatever, if you're creating visuals, I think you're a storyteller. Like that is your job. And crafting that for your client is your job to do it. I've started moving more into video now because I really love how you can tell stories better with video. Yeah. Like photos, you can only get so far. And I love photography, of course. And I love the fact that you can print an image and put it on a wall and it lives on forever. And it's like this immortalized memory of something that happened, whether it's kind of crafted or not. I just love that. And that comes into the art piece as well, which we can talk about later. But videos, you can just tell a story in a whole different way. Yeah. So I've started doing a lot more of that. I just did the first documentary piece for a client in Amsterdam, which we're in the edit for at the moment. And yeah, it's people see, they hear. when it comes to visuals, and you can't hear a photo, of course, but the moving image is very powerful when you think about storytelling as a whole. So it's your job as a photographer to be a storyteller. Let's summarize it as that.
Yeah, actually makes a lot of sense. Now that you're explaining it this way, when I asked you the question, I was kind of separating it a lot, but I really get it now. It doesn't really make sense to separate it in the way I was separating it. Or maybe one could say taking photos is like the hard skill, but you definitely needed accompanied by the soft skill of being a storyteller to actually make a great photo, because like anyone could take a photo, but being a photographer takes the soft skill of storytelling. Maybe that's like...
I think you're a much better photographer if you know how to tell a story. How do you put 10 images together that tell a story? And really, you could put 10 images together from one shoot that don't tell a story, but they're all beautiful. Mm-hmm. Or you could put 10 images together that really tell the story of the product or the brand or the craftsmanship, or you're hinting at the materials or this kind of stuff. Like that's the trick, I would say. And it's one step forward from just a pretty picture. Yeah. And which is why I guess I like doing more campaigny stuff, because there's more of a story. Like there's a story in the campaign, and your job is to tell the story through visuals, be it photo or video. They're combined. You can't be a photographer without being a storyteller. And I think the quicker that you can realize how to tell your story through images, the quicker you'll advance as a creative like that.
Yeah. Definitely makes sense. So, I mean, you've already touched a little bit on it, that you have a marketing and sales background, because I was wondering, how did you acquire your skill set? Was it through school, or was it learning by doing, so passion-based? How did you learn becoming a photographer? Was it just like self-taught?
Yeah, I was self-taught. I think I've learned that there's generally two routes that you go down as a photographer. You either assist, so you learn from others and you are on set, and maybe you're a digi assist, maybe you're a runner, maybe you're just working on a production and you just learn and watch and absorb. Kind of didn't do that in a traditional capacity as like working into photographers. Or the other way you do it is that you're self-taught, and that was kind of a bit more me. I was always interested in photography as a kid. I grew up with National Geographic magazines, and that was my way of like seeing the world. It's like, wow, all these places, look how beautiful these pictures are. And that made me want to travel and stuff. When I did start traveling in my 20s, I would always travel with a camera. I started taking photos, and this is the early days when drones and stuff came out, and I started doing a lot of aerial imagery, and people really loved it. And then you start getting this kind of positive reinforcement that you're doing something right, because people are like, oh wow, that's amazing images, you've really got an eye for this, you know. And you're like, oh, actually, okay, maybe there is something here. But I went more into marketing in London. I worked for media owners and agencies and all this kind of thing, and I learned about the advertising industry, and I learned about production, I learned about content and social media. And then in 2011, I actually saw a photo booth for the first time at a party, an event, and I kind of fell in love with this concept. I was like, wow, okay, this is actually really clever. I was, at the time, talking to brands about how they could use viral media to reach young audiences in locations, like hard to reach locations. And then suddenly you had these photos from a photo booth. They came out like 2 weeks later. This is in 2011, and people were using them as like framing them, putting them on their desks and putting them on their Facebook profile photos and sending them around on emails. And I was like, there must be a way here, if you can buy a brand with this, that brands would pay to do this if you made it really cool. Yeah. So I actually started a photo booth company in 2011. That's how it kind of all began. And I got an early wave of social and digital and experiential. And then we quickly became this content studio for brands. And we would do events all around like how to create content at an event with 100 people that would reach 1 million people online. So how you used influencers and celebrities and clever content to reach people online. So I learned in a strange way by doing all of these productions, and we built bullet time photography in the UK. We were one of the first companies to democratize that and make it accessible in 2015. And we did a 100 camera rig for GQ Man of the Year Awards, where it was a matrix frozen in time 360 image. And I did this deal with GQ and Condé Nast where we gave them the rig for free, and we got all credits on social media, magazine, press, PR, and it blew up. Like the next week we had Chanel and Cartier and IWC and Burberry and all of these guys knocking on our door on how to do it. So I spent basically the best part of 10 years making photo moments from events. So festivals, PR events, award ceremonies, retail activations. And I learned so much about brand and marketing and production and content and social media with that. By the time I left that business in 2020, combining all of that experience with having an eye for a good photo, I've got all of the business knowledge that then allowed me to then make that decision to move into photography full time much more easily because I'm older, I'm more experienced, I've got the network, I understand marketing, I can have a conversation with someone, they feel safe with me, and I can take a nice photo. Whereas if you could just take a nice photo, it doesn't really, how far are you going to go with that? Yeah, it was a mixture for me. It was all self-taught, but I learned in a multitude of different ways how to shoot or how to tell a story or how to do marketing or what worked for social media or what one brand wants in luxury that another brand doesn't want in technology, and all of this all the nuances with that as well.
Speaking of being in marketing first and then also starting photography, would you consider yourself a generalist?
Yeah, it's funny. I was having this conversation this morning. It's like, I think clients want you to be a specialist because they want to put you in a box. So we need someone to shoot swim. That's a swim photographer.
Yeah.
We need sports.
Yeah.
Personally, for me, I love variety.
Yeah, same.
So I want to do a bit of everything. And actually, because of my agency background, I'm not a specialist because how it works is a client says they've got a project, they've got a brief, they've got a challenge, they've got something that needs to get done. So we're launching a product and we need to tell the story of it. My specialism is being able to respond to your brief, individually. I specialize in doing different work for different clients.
Yeah.
Now, you could rephrase that as being a generalist, but it's not. You will see one campaign I do and another, and they'll look a little bit different. I don't shoot the same style all the time, but the challenge with that is that people might not know how to interpret you.
Yeah, perfect, because you actually took the question exactly where I was trying to go with it. Because prior to this podcast, I was trying to find out every little information I could find about you online.
Oh,
and so I was on your website, and there you list your skill set, and it's really long. And I know that I feel like it becomes more and more even that people are like, oh no, you have to find your niche. Otherwise people are gonna assume, oh, he does it all, so he is not good at any of these things. But I personally think, especially in creative spaces, being a generalist makes so much sense and is also fine. Because I feel like this thinking that being specialized in something is the best scenario comes from a really academic background where you do a bachelor's and master's and then a PhD, and then I don't know, you're a doctor, and then you are a specialist in treating skin cancer or something, where I feel like it makes a lot more sense to actually be a specialist. Whereas being a creative, I think it makes sense to turn it the other way around and be more general, and also not saying that you aren't 100% best of the best in all of these skill sets. I feel like we also have to keep in mind as creatives it's not the same being photographers and taking photos as it is doing open heart surgery. If you like someone's pictures and he does not shoot a bikini campaign every year, but you kind of like what he has done for the jewelry brand, you can kind of take the risk, because most likely he's still gonna make you a good campaign. And also, yes, it's all really serious. Yes, there's a lot of money going into advertisements, so I get it. You really want the best case scenario, the best outcome, but it's not open heart surgery. So I feel like sometimes you should just take the leap of faith and trust that someone that's good at telling one story can also tell your story in a good way.
Yeah, 100%. Again, I was having this conversation with a friend of mine this morning, a photographer and videographer. He puts out to the world, swim mainly, that's what he shoots. But we're having a conversation, like he gets a lot of people come to him just because they know, and this is the same for every photographer, what you put out to the world and what you shoot are not always the same thing. If I'm putting out swim or fashion or whatever, you might not realize that these guys are also shooting loads of other different things. But that's not what they want to be known for. Yeah. So their shop window doesn't say all of it. I think being a generalist with a specialism is the way to go. You could be a creative, but a creative doing what? Yeah. Like, so for me, my specialism is like, I've badged that under travel. Arguably that's a bit broad, but for me it encompasses all the things. So I can do travel companies, I can do suitcases, I can do hotels, I can do shoes and outdoor stuff. So that encompasses it for me. Now, if I was even more of a generalist outside of that, that might get even more confusing because like, am I also doing studio and product and this and this and this? It's important for people to see you in a pot. It doesn't have to be a specific whole, but like a category. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I mean, at the end of the day, all of the things you do align with each other. So I feel like it makes sense. But I'm personally also just like a big fan of generalists. And I feel like there is a wrongful thinking that being a generalist just means that you're a little bit less good at everything than like a specialist is.
I've struggled with this because everyone told me you kind of need to specialize.
Yeah, I feel like it's also the same with modeling where people tell you like, oh, your portfolio has to go like in one direction. I mean, yes, in a really broad sense, okay, I don't have like editorial pictures in there because I'm not a person who would get booked for fashion editorials. So yes, I do like all commercial, but then I know people who say like, no, you have to niche it down even more. And if you want to do beauty, then you only can put beauty in there. I'm like, no, I feel like people should change their thinking of like generalists that, oh, if I do beauty and sports and then like one random electronics commercial, that means I'm not like really good at all of them. And instead think like, oh no, she can do beauty and she can do your hardware commercial as well. Like, I don't know where people have such a negative view on it. I feel like that really comes from an academic background where it makes more sense to think in it. If you look at it like a triangle, I feel like in an academic sense it makes sense to like narrow down the triangle, but I feel like in a creative sense it really makes sense to turn the triangle upside down and broaden your horizon in your career and like start with one thing but then actually add onto it. I feel like that's not watering down your skill, it's just widening it.
Yeah, I think it's more from the buyer's perspective. I had this recently, so I've got a project where I need to expand my team and I need someone, it's a travel campaign, it's a lifestyle campaign, and I wanted someone who, I found myself asking for a specialist. I said to someone, do you know anyone who's got experience shooting luxury hospitality video? Because I do it as well, but we needed a bigger team. And that's exactly it. If you put yourself in the buyer's perspective, you want this knowledge and safety with someone. If you've got someone that's what they do all the time, you know you're safe. But that's not to say that all the other people I know couldn't do it, you know? So I think people want to just be able to make quick decisions on these things. You need a pair of running shoes, you go to like a sports store to do that. It's like, it's quick. Where do I go to get what I need?
I'm just big on trust in general, but also I'm not saying go get an e-com photographer for a Patagonia outdoor campaign, but like if it's somewhere in there, maybe the person that usually also shoots other stuff can even have like a new twist on it. And also you might already actually have it in your portfolio, but you just have other things as well. So I'm not saying, oh, if you do something entirely different, people should just hope for the best, that you can just do it all. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying if you do several things, people shouldn't assume that therefore your skill in each of these things is kind of watered down because you didn't focus on one thing, but more so trust that you are just one who can do several things at a great level.
And I think that's where the real skill is. Like if you imagine that you've got someone who can do many things at a very high level, to me, that's so much better than being a specialist in one. I'd rather be known for that. I would like to be able to look at my work at some point and it's still building and be super proud of multiple categories where I can say that I shot A, B, C, D, E, F, different categories super well that are like top level, where they could be considered, you know, if you had a specialist in each of those categories, that's the kind of work they produce. I want to produce the best of everything. And actually the motivation there is because people told me I needed to be a specialist. I'm like, well, no, because I'll show you that I can produce as good a work in all of these. And then you're going to tell me that you still need to be a specialist? No. And I think now more and more clients, I don't know, your ability to do many things for clients is more important than ever. Because if you can't do something for them, they're going to go somewhere else and you might lose them completely. I've got some clients that I do strategy work for. I've got some clients that I just do location scouting. I've got other clients I'll do photo work. It's really your ability to do many things well, I think, will set you apart. Everyone's going to have different opinions on this, and this is the other thing that I think is really important that people remember, is everyone's going to have a different opinion. And you've just got to be so true to yourself and what is authentically you. And you talked about it a minute ago. You said when you're talking about the book as a model, it's what you want to do. And I think that's a really important bit, is ask yourself, what do you want? Like, what do you want to do? What kind of work do you want to do? Do you want to be known for? Do you want to be seen for? You decide, not your agent, not your booker, not like they can steer you, but you need to decide who you are authentically and then pursue that. I think over everything else, that's the most important thing, because then coming back to what we were saying at the start, that's what you're super passionate about. And if you're passionate about it, you're going to show up better, and you show up better and you'll be seen and you'll be remembered, and just the whole thing is going to work more in your favor. Whereas if you're doing something you don't really care about, it's going to be half-assed and you're not going to produce it as well as you could. So authenticity as a creative, as an artist, whatever that means to you, whatever that label means, is so important.
Yeah, this actually is a perfect, unfortunately I don't know the word, how
segue?
To phrase it. Yeah, exactly. That's a perfect segue to like my next block. Being authentic in your art is what you just said. And I wanted to touch with you on the topic of like putting art over content. So kind of also like putting quality over quantity, which also aligns with what you said. You're not always out there shooting every day. You're more into bigger projects where you can actually tell a bigger story. So you're more into like campaign work. And I've been wondering, how do you manage to focus on your artistry? And yes, this job is your passion, but you also need to make your money. So I feel like it's easy to lose track of like your own art and just try to put out as much content as possible, try to shoot as many things as possible just to come by and like make the money you need. I mean, now you're already like progressed in your career and you know where you are, so you can probably already choose like what projects and what companies you want to work with. But if you maybe go a little bit back in time and like try to put yourself in the shoes of someone whose art is really important to them, but at the same time is still a little bit more struggling, but doesn't want to get lost in this really fast-paced world where you feel like, oh, I just gotta shoot everything and forget about like my personal style or what I actually wanted to get into photography for. I know, lots of questions. I hope you just pick one. Just choose wherever you
well, I guess what you're talking about here is like art as a creative and being a creative and pursuing your creative vision and eye in combination with the commercial like asks and requirements.
Yeah, how to find balance between doing work for money and doing work for art and passion, kinda. How to put art over content.
It's a tough one. Like this art not content thing, I saw it on social media years ago, and I stole it, like artists mostly do. It's okay
Just to put some context on here, I also stole it from his website because he put it in bold letters, art over content. So I was like, okay, if you put it in bold letters, then tell me some about it.
It's tough. Like I used to lead with that a bit more, but the reality is clients don't like that because they want to produce content. And so in a way it says no content here. But actually what I'm saying is, what's the difference between art and content?
I feel like art is trying to pursue a bigger picture than content is doing. Like both try to provoke an action, but I feel like content is more focused on action, art is more focused on thought. You don't necessarily have to consume something if you look at art, but content, or at least in the way we talk about content, speaking of like commercial, in a commercial sense, content is always intended for consumption and the action of consumerism, I would say.
Yeah. I think I've been in this world for so long, and this content, just everything was content. And if you look at how we consume content, and sometimes I watch people on, I don't know if I'm on a plane or I'm traveling or whatever, and I watch how people consume, and it's just mad.
Yeah,
and
then I put my phone down for like 10 seconds and I just pick it back up because I'm just like so addicted to consuming content all the time.
That's one thing. But also the time that we give to something is so small when we're looking at it on a mobile phone. They say 3 seconds. It's not even 3 seconds now. It's like a second or two. And people just do it. It's almost like this automatic reaction. They're not even looking. They're just like scrolling. So that's how I see content.
Yes.
Obviously, there's different intricacies to that. How I see art, I imagine myself in a gallery. Think about how you consume art in a gallery. How you walk around a space slowly, mindfully. You're not going to stop and look at everything for 10 minutes. But you will stop and you will look. I do, and I read, and I'll look and observe something, and I take it in a completely different way.
Yeah, maybe have like an original thought about it.
Yeah, like what am I looking at? So another thing for art is, I believe art makes you think.
Yeah.
Right? It should ask you something like, what am I looking at here? And then with that, it should inspire you in some way. It sparks a conversation. So if you see something, it's a little bit different, you ask yourself that question, that sparks a conversation, and then a conversation can often lead to an inspiration of some description, which then ultimately should lead to some kind of action. So I just think art has a better, it's still a piece of content. If you think about it, it's a picture framed, you know, or a video or whatever it is. I just think we consume things differently. So when I'm saying art, not content, I'm saying two things. I'm talking about how we consume, and I'm talking about stylistically how we produce. I'm not this kind of UGC, TikToking, self-recording, because it's just not really me. I might do it for like behind the scenes stuff or whatever, because people want to see like me, which I also find really difficult as well.
I get this whole leaning of the industry for more like homemade kind of content, but I personally like curated, stylized commercials, like UGC and everything. I prefer an ad that's just like promising me everything, because my problem with UGC is it's supposed to look more relatable, but at the end of the day it's just as fake as a commercial because it's still scripted and everything. So I'm like, if it's fake either way, then give me the nice, beautiful commercial. I
want to shoot content that can be art. Like I often print out, the walls of this house now are empty because I've just moved here and I haven't done that bit yet, but normally everywhere I live, every single wall has pictures on it, and this will transform over the next month or two, because that's what my memories are. Like I don't remember social media, and how we consume it is so quick. I want to capture things that can live in a large frame and I can look at every day, that's so beautiful. I'm happy to have that on my wall. You know, I launched a print website in COVID, and I sold like 30 plus of my large frame prints within the first few weeks. And I think I'm so humbled how someone can choose to part with their money to put one of my pictures on the wall of their home.
Yeah.
Every day they walk into their lounge or their kitchen or whatever and they see a large image that I took. Wow, for me that's so much more rewarding than you clicking like on my photo.
Yeah.
Or like looking at it for a second on Instagram. So that, I think I've always had this thing of, I come from quite an artistic family of art in the traditional capacity, and I'm crossing this bridge of this new way of doing things in digital world. So yeah, art not content is about all of that. It's trying to just create stuff I'm proud of that I think's beautiful. And if it's beautiful, then hopefully it'll inspire someone to have a conversation and maybe make an action of some description.
Speaking of inspiration, what do you do to refresh your vision, like to actually get new inspiration? Like, do you have any specific way how you go about it when you feel like I'm just run out of ideas, I just need new input?
There's a few things. Travel always helps. It's weird. It's like as soon as I get on the plane and I'm in the air, my mind, it's just the physical separation of my mind from a place, boom, makes me think differently.
Yeah, but I really do think planes have a special energy. Also, listening to music on a plane is different. Why does it make me think of like all the emotions I've felt since fourth grade? I don't know. It just hits different. Like planes, they just make you emotional. They give you ideas. They make you, I don't know, something up in there.
100%. I don't know what this is either, but I am more likely to be emotional on a plane 40,000 feet in the air. Maybe it's a gravity thing and our bodies and water. I don't know.
Really.
But so travel like that, but also I would phrase that as like new perspective. So if you're going to a new place and you're seeing a new culture, a new environment, new landscapes, new people, new food, whatever it is, it challenges your norm. And anything that challenges your norm will spur some kind of creativity or a thought in you that's not your normal. And I think that's why I've traveled so much, is because it just keeps my mind fresh. And I'm like excited by everything I'm seeing. It gives me all these ideas and meeting people and different cultures. And it's like super exciting for me. But not everyone can travel all the time. I get that. If I'm with a client project, to be honest, I will use Pinterest a lot. Mood boards, that's how I'm curating things and that's how I'm getting inspired. Probably more than Instagram, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like occasionally I'm saving things or I follow artists that I'm interested in, but the way the algorithms work, they don't even serve you those people anyway. So you have to then dig for it. Yeah, I don't really use Instagram so much in that way. Pinterest for me is how I'll mood board. And then when I start seeing a couple of images that I like, then that triggers me again. I'm like, oh yeah, how about this? And then you start putting it together, changing the search terms. Then the way Pinterest works is then it will serve you more of the same stuff, right? That's how I curate and be creative in the moment. Also galleries, museums, books, meetups, other creatives. Like here, since I've moved to Cape Town, I've made a conscious effort of reaching out to a lot of other creatives here and just meeting them for coffees and stuff. And the process of doing that, similar for you here, is you look at their work, you do research, you look at like what they're about. That's inspiring because you see how everyone approaches things differently. And that triggers things in you. I also participate in things like awards, which you talked about earlier. Actually, it was the first time I did it this year, was the awards. But the process of doing that, again, makes you think about things differently. Basically, anything that challenges your brain in a different way. That's how to remain inspired.
That was a really satisfying answer.
Satisfying. I'm glad.
Thank you. So, my very last question is, what is your darling thing? It's a question specific to this podcast. You can only answer with a thing that's not of monetary benefit to you, is not about self-optimization, and doesn't have to do anything with your job. So it could be something as small as like a snack or quote, or like a recent travel of you, or even like person.
The thing that is coming to mind here is interiors. I love interior design, I've discovered over the last
You've only discovered this recently?
Well, I would say about 7 or 8 years ago is when I realised. My granddad used to work for a paint company when he was younger, and when I was a kid I would go to his house and he'd have World of Interior magazines, and he would have different colour paints on the wall, and he would sit me down his knee and ask me, which colour paint should we paint the wall? And everything was very colourful.
Now this all makes sense, because we're recording this in Jerome's apartment. The bathroom is entirely green, the bedroom is all red, even the ceiling.
Yeah.
So it's all your grandpa. Okay.
Yeah, he was definitely inspiration for me there. That's actually in my family. We're all very colourful. My mum is quite creative. It's all, you realise when you're a kid and you go to other people's houses and stuff, you're like, oh, actually ours is quite different, quite colourful, quite nice. It's like quite stylish, which is cool. And I think some of that rubbed off on me in different ways. And obviously my taste's not the same for everyone. But what I've realised is when I've lived in places and I've been fortunate enough to buy places and I've done the interiors for it, a lot of people have asked me, who's done your interiors? I'm like, it's me. Like, what? No way, you did it. And so that's, again, giving you the reassurance that, oh, actually, yeah, maybe I do have an eye for this. And I love it. I love pulling it all together, which is probably another reason why I move so much, is because every time I go into a new home, I can do it all again. So there's part of me that sometimes I've thought, oh, maybe I'll do interior design. But there's something to be said for separating your passions sometimes with your profession.
Yeah.
Because it can be quite a stressful thing to do. So for now, I'm quite happy interior designing for myself, maybe adding where friends would like me to. But yeah, I would say that's kind of like my little darling thing.
Perfect. That perfectly ties into the whole inspiration and creative thing we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for spending this time with me and talking.
It's been a pleasure.
I will link all your socials in the info box. Yeah, that was it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Darlene. Lovely to chat.
If you like the podcast, please leave me a 5-star review and tune in next Wednesday for another English episode and on Sunday for another German episode. Bye!